Captain Tae-Won Kim stood at the viewport of Earth's newest deep space outpost, Station Horizon. The stars looked different out here, at the edge of explored space. His reflection stared back at him, a man of 45 with tired eyes and short black hair turning gray at the temples. 20 years in Earth's defense force had taught him caution. New things meant new dangers. "Captain, we've picked up something strange," said Lieutenant Dae-ho, his communications officer. "An unusual signal about 3 hours from our position." Tae-Won turned from the viewport. "Show me." On the main screen, a blinking dot appeared against the backdrop of space. The signal pattern scrolled below. Not random, definitely artificial, but matching nothing in their database. "Could be a trap," said Commander Han, the security chief. She always expected the worst. In Taiwan's experience, that was often the right approach out here. "Or it could be someone who needs help," said Dr. Jia Park. At 32, she was the youngest senior officer on the station and the only xenobiologist. Her optimism sometimes annoyed the others, but Tae-Won valued her perspective. "We'll investigate," Tae-Won decided. "Prepare the scout ship. Small team only." 4 hours later, Tae-Won piloted the scout ship himself with Jia and 2 security officers aboard. Han had wanted to send more security, but Tae-Won preferred speed and stealth over firepower for a first look. "Signal is stronger now," said Officer Seo, watching her instruments. "Definitely coming from that small moon ahead." As they approached, they saw it, a ship unlike any they had seen before. It was smaller than their scout ship, but oddly shaped, with curves and angles that seemed to follow no logical design. And it was damaged. Badly. "Life signs?" Tae-Won asked. Jia checked her scanner. 1. Very weak. Not human. Tae-Won's heart beat faster. Earth had encountered only 3 alien species in its expansion to the stars. None had been friendly. "We're going to dock and check it out," he said. "SEO men, full armor and weapons ready. Dr. Park, bring your medical kit, but stay behind us." They locked onto the alien vessel with magnetic clamps. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into a corridor with strange proportions. The ceiling was too low, the walkway too narrow. The air smelled like cinnamon and metal. "This way," said Seo, following the life sign reading. They found the alien in what looked like a control room. It was slumped over a console, dark fluid pooling beneath it. The creature was about 5 feet tall with greenish-brown scaled skin. Its body shape reminded Tae-Won of the lizards he had kept as pets as a child, but with longer limbs and a larger head. Jia pushed past the security officers despite Tae-Won's warning hand. "It's dying," she said simply, kneeling beside the creature. The alien's eyes opened. They were large and golden with vertical pupils that widened at the sight of the humans. It made a sound, a series of clicks and whistles. "I need to get it to our medical bay," Jia said, already scanning the creature with her medical devices. "Multiple internal injuries. I can't treat it properly here." Tae-Won hesitated. Protocol was clear. Unknown alien species were to be considered. Hostile until proven otherwise. Bringing it aboard their ship was a risk. The alien spoke again, this time reaching out one 3-fingered hand toward Tae-Won. There was intelligence in those eyes. Fear, too. "Captain?" Jia looked up at him. Her eyes held a silent plea. "Fine. We'll take it back. But it stays in isolation, and I want 2 guards at all times." Back on Station Horizon, Jia worked for hours in the medical bay while Tae-Won reported to Earth Command. The video call with General Yu was tense. "You brought an unknown alien species onto a military outpost?" The general's voice was cold with anger. "It was dying, sir. And it might have valuable information." "That's exactly my concern, Captain. Information. I want to know what that thing is doing out there, what its species wants, and if they're a threat to Earth. You will get that information by any means necessary. Do you understand?" Tae-Won understood. Any means necessary was military speak for methods he had hoped to never use again. "Yes, sir," he said stiffly. After the call, Tae-Won went to the medical bay. The alien was conscious, floating in a tank of clear liquid that Gia had quickly created to support its unique biology. Tubes and sensors connected to its body. 2 guards stood at the door, weapons ready. "How is it?" Taewon asked. Gia corrected, "based on what I can tell about his anatomy, and he's stable for now. I've managed to stop the internal bleeding and set up a nutrient solution that seems compatible with his system." Has he tried to communicate?" "Yes." Gia showed him a tablet with strange symbols on it. "He used my computer to draw these. I think it's his language. I've been trying to establish some basics for communication." The alien's eyes followed their movement. Then he touched the glass of the tank and made more clicking sounds. "I think he's trying to tell us his name," Gia said. She held up the tablet, which now showed an image of the alien next to a symbol. "Based on the sounds in this symbol, I think his name is Kato." Taewon looked at the alien, at Kato. "Ask him what happened to his ship." Gia showed Kato an image of his damaged vessel. Kato's response was immediate. He drew on the tablet another ship, much larger with sharp, aggressive lines. Then he drew what looked like weapons fire. "He was attacked," Gia said. "By who? Why?" Taewon asked. Kato drew more symbols, but they meant nothing to the humans yet. Taewon's communicator beeped. Commander Han's voice came through. "Captain, we've decoded some of the data from the alien ship. You need to see this." In the control room, Han showed him the footage they had recovered. It showed Kato's ship being pursued by a much larger vessel. The design was unlike anything in Earth's records. "The attack was unprovoked from what we can tell," Han said. The alien, Kato, was running scientific scans of a nearby star when the other ship appeared and opened fire without communication. Taewon frowned. "So he might not be a threat, but whoever attacked him definitely is." "There's more," Han said. "Based on the trajectory and the time since the attack, if that hostile ship continued on its course, it could reach Earth space within months." Taewon's communicator beeped again. "Captain," came General Yu's voice. "New orders. You are to extract all possible intelligence from the alien immediately. We need to know everything about the hostiles who attacked it. Use enhanced interrogation if necessary. Earth security is at stake." Taewon looked at the image of Kato on the screen, floating in the medical tank, injured, but trying to communicate. "Captain, your acknowledgement is required." "Understood, sir," Taewon said. "We'll begin interrogation immediately." As he ended the call, Taewon felt a weight settle in his chest. He had joined Earth's defense force to protect humanity. Now he had to decide how far he would go to fulfill that mission, and whether the price might be too high. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Taewon stood before the tank where Kato floated, watching the alien's chest rise and fall with each breath. Gia had removed him from the healing liquid and placed him on a medical bed, though restraints secured his limbs to the surface. "Are the restraints necessary?" Taewon asked. "General Yu's orders," Gia said. Her voice was flat. She did not look at Taewon directly. "I've been ordered to monitor his health during questioning, nothing more." Taewon nodded. "How much can he understand us?" "The translation program has made some progress. Basic words and ideas should get through, but complex concepts will be difficult." Taewon pulled up a chair beside the bed. Kato's golden eyes followed him, the vertical pupils narrowing slightly in the bright light of the medical bay. "I am Captain Kim," Taewon said slowly. "You are on Station Horizon. Do you understand?" Kato made a series of clicks, then seemed to struggle to form words with his different mouth structure. "Understand? Yes." "Good. I need information about the ship that attacked you." Kato's scales shifted color slightly, darkening around his neck and face. "Bad. Danger. They kill. All." Taewon leaned forward. "Who are they? What do they want?" "Vorex," Kato said, the word sounding harsh in his mouth. "Want everything, take, destroy." "Are they coming here? To Earth?" Kato's eyes blinked rapidly. Not no Earth. Taewon showed Kato a tablet with a star map on it. This is Earth. This is where we found you. Where are the Voreks from? Kato looked at the map but seemed confused by the format. After several attempts, Taewon grew frustrated. General Yu would expect results, not excuses about translation difficulties. Why were the Voreks attacking you? Taewon pressed harder. Are your people at war? Nari. Peaceful, Kato said, his voice straining. Study stars. Voreks. Kill. Nari. The door hissed open and Commander Han entered. She looked at Kato with cold eyes, then at Taewon. General Yu is demanding a progress report. This gentle questioning isn't getting us anywhere fast enough. Taewon stood up. He's giving us information. We just need time to... Time is what we don't have, Han cut in. Intelligence suggests the hostile ship is moving toward populated space. We need tactical information now. Han reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. Medical. Has prepared a nerve stimulator. Pain can be a universal language, Captain. Jia stepped forward. That could kill him in his weakened state. Han's face hardened. That's why you're here, Doctor. To make sure he stays alive during enhanced interrogation. Taewon felt sick. In 20 years of service, he had never tortured a prisoner. But this wasn't just about one alien. The safety of Earth could be at stake. Wait outside, he told Han. When she had gone, Taewon turned to Jia. I need you to tell me if this goes too far. Jia's eyes were wide with disapproval, but she nodded once. Taewon turned back to Kato. I don't want to hurt you, but I need information to protect my people. Do you understand? Kato's eyes seemed to hold a deep sadness. Your people. Like Nari. Afraid. Taewon held up the nerve stimulator. This will cause pain if you don't answer. Tell me about Voreks weapons. How did they damage your ship? Over the next hour, Taewon questioned Kato about the Voreks. Each time the answers were too slow or unclear, he activated the stimulator at its lowest setting. Kato's body would jerk, and his scales would flush a dark color, but he never screamed. Sometimes his answers made sense. The Voreks used energy weapons. They traveled in groups of 3 ships. They communicated using electromagnetic pulses. Other times the translation failed entirely. His vital signs are becoming unstable, Jia warned after a particularly long session. He needs rest. Taewon stepped back, disgusted with himself. Take care of him. I'll report to General Yu. Later that night, Taewon couldn't sleep. The image of Kato's eyes, intelligent and pained, haunted him. Was he really protecting Earth or just following orders without question? The next morning, he returned to the medical bay to find Jia already there, speaking softly to Kato. When Seiko? She saw Taewon, she quickly stepped away from the bed. I was just checking his vitals, she said. Taewon noticed a tablet on the bed next to Kato. It showed simple pictures, a star, a plant, a family. What is this? He asked, picking it up. Jia hesitated. I've been working on improving the translation program. Visual associations help. Taewon looked at the last image, what appeared to be adult Nari with smaller versions. Is this your family? He asked Kato. Kato touched the screen gently with one 3-fingered hand. Yes, family, mate, young ones. Something shifted in Taewon's chest. Until now, he had seen Kato as an alien, a potential threat, a source of information. But seeing him touch the image of his family made Kato suddenly, undeniably, a person. You're a scientist? Taewon asked, pointing to another image. Of stars. Yes, study stars. New stars born. Not a warrior, not military? Kato's scales rippled, which Jia had explained was their equivalent of shaking the head. Nari not have military. Only learn. Share knowledge. Taewon felt a chill. Then how do you defend yourselves against the Voreks? Run. Hide. Kato's eyes seemed to dim. Many Nari die. The door opened and Commander Han entered with 2 security officers. Captain General Yu is on the line. The long-range sensors have detected 3 ships matching the design of the one that attacked the alien. They'll be here in less than 48 hours. Taewan's blood ran cold. Get the station on alert. I'll speak to the general. Before he could leave, Kato made an urgent series of clicks and whistles. The translation program on Jia's tablet tried to keep up. Vorik, find me. Find you. We'll destroy. Han stepped closer to the bed, her face hard. This confirms it. He led them straight to us. No. Kato's voice was stronger now, desperate. Not want. This. Nari peaceful. Liar. Han spat. You're their scout. Taewan raised a hand to silence Han. If the Voreks are coming, we need all the information we can get. He turned to Kato. No more games. Tell us everything about the Voreks, or we'll leave you to them when they arrive. Fear showed clearly in Kato's alien face. But there was something else too, a resolve that Taewan recognized from his own mirror. I tell in truth, Kato said. Nari, peaceful. Voreks, destroy all life. Not Nari only. All. Taewan stared at the alien, trying to see deception but finding none. General Yu has ordered the alien's immediate execution, Han said flatly. He's considered a security risk now that hostile forces are approaching. Jia gasped. You can't. He's our only source of information about these Voreks. Orders are orders, Doctor, Han replied coldly. Taewan looked from Han to Kato to Jia. As captain, he had to follow orders. As a human being, he wasn't sure he could. Give me 6 hours, he said finally. 6 hours to get everything we can from him. Then, he couldn't finish the sentence. Han nodded curtly and left the room. Taewan turned back to Kato, whose eyes were watching him intently. 6 hours to... Convince me you're telling the truth, Taewan said quietly. 6 hours to find a way out of this for both of us. After Commander Han left the medical bay, Jia moved quickly to Kato's side. We have to prove you're telling the truth, she said, adjusting his medical monitors. Is there anything on your ship that could help us understand the Voreks? Kato's golden eyes blinked twice. Data. In ship. Records of Voreks attacks. Taewan paced the small room. We looked through your ship's data already. Most of it was damaged or unreadable. Hidden data, Kato said, his scaled fingers making a motion like typing. For unsafety, Taewan exchanged glances with Jia. I'll send a team back to the ship, he decided. Jia, you go with them. You have 6 hours before General Yu expects his orders to be carried out. As Jia prepared to leave, Taewan touched her arm. Don't tell the team what you're really looking for, he said quietly. Not yet. Jia nodded. She understood the danger of going against military orders. When they were alone, Taewan pulled up a chair next to Kato's bed. While we wait, he said, tell me about your people, the Nari. Over the next hour, Kato shared stories about his homeworld. The translation program was still rough, but Taewan began to understand more. The Nari lived on a planet with 3 moons. They valued knowledge above all else. Their society had no concept of war until the Voreks arrived. How many worlds have the Voreks destroyed? Taewan asked. 7 known, Kato replied. Maybe more. And they attack without warning? Without trying to communicate? Voreks not seen others as alive, Kato struggled to explain. Only resources. Taewan thought of Earth history, of colonizers who viewed native peoples as less than human. Some things, it seemed, were universal. His communicator beeped. Captain, we have a problem, came Commander Han's voice. The approaching vessels have increased speed. New arrival time is less than 12 hours. Taewan's stomach tightened. Acknowledged. Prepare the station for possible attack. After ending the call, he looked at Kato. I need to know how to fight. Them. If what you say is true, you've seen them attack before. Kato's scales darkened slightly. Voreks ships, strong shields, but pattern to shields. Openings when Weapons fire. He reached for the tablet beside the bed and drew a diagram of a Vorex ship with markings that showed vulnerable points. Taewon studied it. This could be useful if it's accurate, but it could also be a trap. Kato's eyes held Taewon's gaze. No trap. Want live. Want you live. The door to the medical bay slid open. Jia rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. We found it, she said breathlessly. A hidden data cache. It was encrypted, but we managed to access some of it. She placed a tablet on Kato's bed and played a video recording. It showed Kato's ship in orbit around a distant star when 3 larger vessels appeared suddenly. There was no communication, no warning. The larger ships opened fire immediately. That's not all, Jia continued. We found records of Kato's mission. He's a stellar cartographer. He maps stars and planets. There's data going back years, all scientific observations. Taewon felt both relief and dread. Kato had been telling the truth. He wasn't a threat, but the Vorex definitely were. We need to contact Earth Command with this new information, Taewon said. There's more, Jia said quietly. She glanced at the security cameras in the medical bay, then lowered her voice. The Vorex ships have a specific communication frequency. According to Kato's data, we might be able to disrupt it. Their ships work together as a network. Disrupt one and you might disable all 3. Taewon's mind raced with possibilities. This could give them an edge they desperately needed. But using the information meant admitting he had disobeyed orders to execute Kato. The door slid open again. Commander Han entered with 2 armed security officers. Time's up, Captain, she said coldly. General Yu is expecting his orders to be carried out. Jia stepped between the security officers and Kato. We have proof the alien is telling the truth. We found data on his ship that confirms everything. Han's expression didn't change. The general has made his decision. The alien poses a security risk. The alien has a name, Taewon said, standing up. His name is Kato, and he has information that could save this station and possibly Earth itself. Step aside, Captain, Han said. That's a direct order. Taewon didn't move. 20 years of military service, of following orders without question, weighed against what he knew was right. No, he said finally. I can't let you do this. Han's face hardened. Then you leave me no choice. She lifted her communicator. Security. To medical bay. Captain Kim is relieved of command, effective immediately. Before she could send the message, the station's alarm blared to life. Alert! Unknown vessels approaching. All personnel to battle stations. Taewon looked at the monitor. On the wall. It showed 3 Vorex ships exactly like those in Kato's recording moving toward Station Horizon. They're early, Han said, her voice tight with tension. Taewon turned to her. We need Kato's help. He knows these ships, their weaknesses. Han hesitated, torn between her orders and the immediate threat. We can discuss chain of command after we survive this attack, Taewon said. After a long moment, Han nodded. What do you need? Get Kato to the command center. And I need our best communications officer to work on disrupting the Vorex network. As the security officers helped Kato to his feet, Jia quickly removed his restraints. Can you walk? She asked. Kato nodded, his scaled legs unsteady but functioning. Help. Fight Vorex. They made their way to the command center where chaos reigned. Officers rushed between stations, preparing the station's defenses. The main screen showed the 3 Vorex ships, their strange angular designs looking even more menacing up close. They're scanning us, reported Lieutenant Daeho from the communications station. Can we disrupt their network? Taewon asked. Daeho shook his head. Not without knowing their exact frequency. All eyes turned to Kato. With Jia's help, he moved to Daeho's station and studied the readouts. His 3-fingered hands moved across the controls with surprising speed. Here, he said, pointing to a pattern on the screen. Vorex, speak here. Daeho adjusted the station's communications array. I've got it. Sending disruptive signal now. On the main screen, one of the Vorex ships suddenly veered off course, then another began to slow. It's working, Jia exclaimed. Kato nodded, his scales brightening slightly in what Taiwan had come to recognize as the Nari equivalent of a smile. Not stop. Long, Kato warned. They adapt. Taiwan turned to Han. Weapons ready? Han nodded, a new respect in her eyes. Ready to fire on your order, Captain. Target the weak points Kato identified, Taiwan said. Fire when ready. The station's defense cannons opened fire on the disoriented Vorek ships. Direct hits struck where Kato had indicated the shields would be weakest. One of the Vorek ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The others began to recover, their movements becoming coordinated again. They're adapting to the disruption, Daeho warned. And they're angry, Kato added, his voice grim. The remaining Vorek ships accelerated toward Station Horizon, weapons charging. Brace for impact, Taiwan shouted. The command center shook violently as Vorek's energy weapons struck the station. Warning lights flashed across every console. Shields at 40%, Han reported. One more hit like that and we're finished. Taiwan looked at Kato. Their eyes met across the chaos of the command center. A human and an alien united against a common enemy. Any other ideas? Taiwan asked. Kato's golden eyes narrowed in concentration. Yes, dangerous, but might work. What do you mean dangerous? Taiwan asked as another blast rocked the station. Kato moved his three-fingered hands in a pattern that suggested explosion. My ship, power core, still active. Could overload, make big energy burst. Jia, understood first. You want to turn your ship's power core into a bomb? Kato nodded. Yes, place between Vorek ships. When explode, disrupt shields. Then, your weapons work better. Taiwan looked at the tactical display. Kato's damaged ship was still attached to Station Horizon by magnetic clamps. If they could detach it and position it correctly, it might work. How do we trigger the overload remotely? Taiwan asked. Cannot, Kato replied. Must set manually. The command center fell silent despite the blaring alarms. You're talking about a suicide mission, Han said quietly. Kato's golden eyes blinked slowly. Yes, only way. Taiwan shook his head. There has to be another option. Station shields at 30%, an officer called out. Next hit could breach the hull. Taiwan made a quick decision. I'll take a shuttle and tow Kato's ship into position. Once it's in place, I'll return before the explosion. Jia grabbed his arm. That's too risky, Captain. Better than losing the station and everyone on it, Taiwan replied. Kato placed a scaled hand on Taiwan's shoulder. Not work, need Nari codes, need Nari hands. He held up his distinctive three-fingered hands. I go. Before Taiwan could argue further, the station shook violently again. Shields at 15%, Han reported. We're running out of time. Taiwan looked at Kato, seeing the determination in those alien eyes. I'll go with you, he decided. 2 people can work, faster than 1. Han stepped forward. Captain, we need you here. You can handle the station defenses, Commander, Taiwan said. But Kato needs someone to help navigate the shuttle. Han hesitated, then nodded. Good luck, Captain. As Taiwan and Kato hurried toward the shuttle bay, Jia followed. Take this, she said, handing Taiwan a small device. It's a translator I've programmed with all the Nari words we've learned. It might help. Taiwan took the device, noticing the worry in Jia's eyes. We'll be back, he promised. The shuttle was small, barely big enough for 2 people. Taiwan took the pilot's seat while Kato settled beside him. The alien moved stiffly, his injuries from the initial attack still not fully healed. How much time will we have after starting the overload? Taiwan asked as they detached from the station. Kato made a series of clicks that the translator interpreted as 3 minutes, maybe less. Taiwan guided the shuttle toward Kato's damaged ship. Using the shuttle's mechanical arms, they detached Kato's vessel from the station and began towing it toward the space between the 2 remaining Vorek ships. There, Kato said, pointing to a spot on the tactical display. Perfect position. Taewon stopped the shuttle, keeping Kato's ship held in the mechanical arms. Now what? Must go inside, Kato said. Set overload. They put on spacesuits and prepared to cross the short distance to Kato's ship. Before they could exit, however, the shuttle rocked violently. We've been hit, Taewon said, checking the systems. Minor damage, but the Vorx have spotted us. On the tactical display, one of the Vorx ships was turning toward them, weapons. Charging. No time, Kato said urgently. Go now. They exited the shuttle and used their suit thrusters to cross the void to Kato's ship. As they entered through the airlock, another blast narrowly missed them. Inside the alien vessel, Kato moved quickly to the control room they had found him in days earlier. The ship's systems were still functional, running on emergency power. Kato's fingers danced across the controls, entering complex sequences. Lights began to flash on the console. What now? Taewon asked. Need access power core chamber, Kato replied. There. He pointed to a small hatch in the floor. Together they opened the hatch, revealing a glowing cylinder below. It pulsed, with blue-green energy that reminded Taewon of Earth's northern lights. Beautiful, he said without thinking. Kato made a sound that might have been a laugh. Yes, Nari power. Beautiful. Dangerous too. The alien began adjusting controls around the core, causing the pulsing to speed up. The translator on Taewon's wrist displayed. Removing safety protocols. Initiating controlled overload sequence. As Kato worked, Taewon kept an eye on the tactical display on his suit computer. The Vorx ships were moving closer, seemingly confused by their actions. Station Horizon is firing on the Vorx, Taewon reported, drawing their attention away from us. Kato nodded but didn't look up from his work. His scaled fingers moved with precision despite his injuries. After several tense minutes, he stepped back from the core, which was now pulsing rapidly and glowing much brighter. Done, he said. 3 minutes. Must leave now. They sealed the hatch and hurried back toward the airlock. As they reached it, the ship shuddered violently. Direct hit, Taewon said, checking his suit readings. The airlock is damaged. Kato pushed past him to examine the airlock controls. After a moment, his shoulders slumped. Cannot open, he said simply. Mechanism broken. Taewon felt cold fear grip his chest. How much time do we have? 2 minutes, Kato replied. Not enough to fix. Taewon activated his comlink. Station Horizon, this is Captain Kim. We've set the overload, but we're trapped on the alien vessel. Airlock is damaged. Han's voice came through, filled with static. Can you use your suit thrusters to break through? Negative. The hull is too strong. Taewon looked at Kato, who was examining the walls of the airlock, looking for another. Way out, 1 minute 40 seconds, Kato said. Taewon thought quickly. There must be an emergency release or another exit. Kato shook his head. No time to reach other exit. Captain, Jia's voice came through the comm. The translation program shows Kato's ship has an emergency evacuation system. Ask him about escape pods. Taewon turned to Kato. Escape pods? Does your ship have them? Kato's eyes widened. Yes. Small. 1 person only. He pointed down the corridor. There. They rushed to where a small hatch was marked with Nari symbols. Kato quickly opened it, revealing a tiny pod barely big enough for 1 person. 1 minute, Kato said. Taewon looked at the pod, then at Kato. There was only room for 1 of them. You go, Taewon said. It's your ship. You know how to operate. Turing Kato's scales darkened. No, you go. My people need to know about Vorx, tell them. I can't just leave you here, Taewon argued. 40 seconds, Kato said. He placed both hands on Taewon's shoulders, his golden eyes intense. Please, save my people. Warning more important than 1 life. Before Taewon could respond, the ship rocked again from another hit. The impact threw them both against the wall. Taewon's helmet cracked against the metal, dazing him momentarily. When his vision cleared, he found himself being pushed into the escape pod by Kato's strong hands. No. Taewon tried to resist, but Kato had surprising strength despite His injuries. 30 seconds, Kato said, his voice calm now. Tell my family I did good thing. The last thing Taiwan saw before the pod sealed was Kato's face, his alien features set in what looked remarkably like a smile. The escape pod ejected with a violent jolt. Through the small viewport, Taiwan watched Kato's ship grow smaller as the pod's automatic systems carried him away. Horizon, lock onto the escape pod and pick me up, Taiwan said into his comm. And prepare to fire everything you have at the Vorx ships the moment Kato's ship explodes. Acknowledged, Captain, Han replied. Shuttle is moving to intercept. Your pod now. Taiwan watched the timer on his suit display count down the final seconds. As it reached 0, Kato's ship erupted in a blinding flash of blue-green energy. The shockwave spread outward, engulfing the Vorx ships just as they fired on Station Horizon. The Vorx shields flickered and failed. Immediately, the station's weapons opened fire, striking the now vulnerable ships at their weakest points. One Vorx ship exploded. The other began to retreat, trailing debris and energy. As the shuttle approached his escape pod, Taiwan placed his hand on the viewport, looking back at where Kato's ship had been. There was nothing left but scattered particles, glowing in the vacuum of space. Goodbye, Kato, Taiwan whispered. I will keep my promise. The shuttle docked with Station Horizon as emergency teams rushed throughout the damaged structure. Taiwan stepped out, his spacesuit dusty and his face grim. Jia was waiting for him in the docking bay. Captain, she said, relief clear in her voice. When we lost contact after the explosion, Taiwan removed his helmet. Kato didn't make it. Jia's eyes filled with tears. He saved us all. Before Taiwan could respond, the station alarm blared again. A voice came over the intercom system. All personnel to emergency stations, radiation leak detected in the command center, evacuation procedures in effect. Taiwan and Jia exchanged alarmed glances. The last Vorx ship, Taiwan said. It must have hit us with something before it retreated. They rushed toward the command center, stopping at a supply station to grab radiation suits. When they arrived, chaos greeted them. Medical teams were treating injured crew members. Emergency containment fields glowed around damaged sections of wall and ceiling. Commander Han approached them, her face pale beneath her radiation suit's clear helmet. Captain, the final Vorx weapon penetrated our shields. It released some kind of radiation we've never seen before. It's spreading through this section of the station. Casualties? Taiwan asked. 3 dead, 12 injured. Han's voice was tight. And the radiation is still increasing, we can't contain it. Jia checked her medical scanner. This radiation pattern, it's similar to what we saw in Kato's power core, but altered somehow. The Vorx weaponized it, Taiwan realized. How long until it reaches critical levels? 2 hours, maybe less, Han replied. We're evacuating all non-essential personnel to the shuttle bay. Earth Command has ordered us to abandon the station. Taiwan looked around at the damaged command center where he had spent the last 3 years of his life. Start the evacuation. But I want to check the data from Kato's ship one more time before we go. There might be something there that could help us understand this radiation. In the science lab, Jia pulled up the data they had recovered from Kato's vessel. According to these readings, the Nari developed a way to neutralize radiation similar to this. It involves a sudden explosion rocked the station, cutting off her words. The lights flickered and emergency power kicked in. What was that? Taiwan demanded into his comm. The radiation reached a power conduit. Han's voice came back. It's accelerating the deterioration. We have less than 30 minutes now. Everyone, out, Taiwan ordered. Get to the shuttles. As they rushed through the corridors, another explosion sent debris crashing down around them. Taiwan was thrown against a wall, his radiation suit tearing along one arm. Jia pulled him up, checking the tear with concern. It's not too bad, she said. The exposure levels aren't immediately dangerous. They continued toward the shuttle bay, helping injured crew members along the way. When they arrived, most of the station's personnel were already boarding the evacuation vessels. That's the last group from the residential section, Han reported as she coordinated the evacuation. Medical and science teams are on Shuttle 2, Security and Engineering on Shuttle 3. And command staff? Taewon asked. Shuttle 1 with you, Han replied. We're just waiting for the last few stragglers. As they prepared to board, an emergency alert sounded on Jia's medical scanner. She checked it with a frown. Captain, I'm picking up a life sign. It's faint, but it's definitely there. Taewon looked at the scanner. Where? Docking Bay 4. That's where. Jia's eyes widened. That's where we brought in the escape pod from Kato's ship. Taewon felt his heart rate increase. Are you saying? I don't know, Jia said. But someone or something is alive in there. Taewon turned to Han. Get everyone else on the shuttles, start the launch sequence. Jia and I will check this out and take the last shuttle. Han looked like she wanted to argue but nodded. You have 15 minutes, Captain. After that, the radiation will make survival impossible. Taewon and Jia raced through the increasingly unstable corridors to Docking Bay 4. When they arrived, they found the small escape pod from Kato's ship had been pulled into the station but not yet opened. The life sign is coming from inside, Jia confirmed. Taewon activated the external release and the pod's hatch slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Inside, curled in the tiny space, was Kato. Impossible, Taewon whispered. The alien was barely conscious, his scaled skin pale and his breathing shallow. Jia ran her scanner over him. He's alive, but barely. Multiple internal injuries, severe radiation exposure. He must have had a second escape pod and launched it at the last moment. Kato's golden eyes fluttered open. When he saw Taewon, a weak sound emerged from his throat. You. Alive, he managed to say. Thanks to you, Taewon replied carefully, helping the alien out of the pod. But how did you survive? Kato couldn't answer. He collapsed against Taewon, too weak to stand. We need to get him to a shuttle, Jia said urgently. He needs medical attention immediately. Together they carried Kato through the station. Every few steps, another explosion would rock the structure. The radiation levels were climbing rapidly, according to Jia's scanner. The tear in your suit is letting in more radiation, she warned Taewon. We need to hurry. They had almost reached the shuttle bay when the largest explosion yet tore through the corridor ahead of them. The ceiling collapsed, blocking their path. No, Taewon said, looking around desperately. There has to be another way. Jia checked her tablet. The maintenance tunnels. We can go around, but it will take time we don't have. As they changed course, Kato stirred in their arms. Stop, he said weakly. They paused, and Kato pointed to a small control panel on the halte. There, he said. Can help. Taewon helped Kato to the panel. The alien's three-fingered hands shook as he adjusted settings on the human interface. What are you doing? Jia asked. Station systems, Kato replied. Creating safe path. On the wall display, a map of the station appeared with a highlighted route. Remarkably, emergency force fields were activating to clear debris from their path. How did you know how to do that? Taewon asked in amazement. Studied while healing, Kato said. Your systems, not so different. They continued along the cleared path, but Kato grew weaker with each step. By the time they reached the shuttle bay, he could no longer walk at all. The final shuttle waited for them, its engines already running. As they boarded, Han's voice came over the comm. 30 seconds to critical radiation levels, Captain. We need to launch now. Taewon and Jia secured Kato in the shuttle's small medical bay. Jia administered emergency treatment while Taewon went to the cockpit to begin launch procedures. The shuttle lifted off just as another explosion tore through the station behind them. Through the viewport, Taewon watched as Station Horizon, his home for 3 years, began to break apart. When he returned to the medical bay, Jia's face told him everything before she spoke. The radiation damage is too severe, she said quietly. His body is shutting down. I've given him something for the pain, but... Taewon knelt beside the medical bed where Kato lay. The alien's breathing was labored, his scales dull and flaking. My people, Cato whispered. Tell them about Vorx. I will, Taiwan promised. We'll warn them. We'll help them fight. Cato's hand reached out, grasping Taiwan's. The three-fingered grip was surprisingly strong. Afraid, Cato admitted, his golden eyes clouding. Death. Dark journey. Taiwan held the alien's hand tightly. You're not alone, I'm here with you. Mercy, Cato said, his voice fading. Please, a mercy. Taiwan looked at Jia, who shook her head sadly. There was nothing more they could do to ease his passing. Mercy, Taiwan assured him, his voice breaking. Rest now, your fight is over, you saved us all. Cato's eyes fixed on Taiwan's face. My family. Tell them. I was brave. The bravest, Taiwan said, tears running down his face. I'll tell them how you saved an entire station of humans who were strangers to you. How you gave everything for others. A sound like gentle clicking came from Cato's throat. The translator on Taiwan's wrist displayed, not strangers, friends. Cato's breathing slowed, then stopped. His hand went limp in Taiwan's grip. The golden eyes, once so full of intelligence and courage, grew dim. Taiwan bowed his head, tears falling freely now. This alien, this person from across the stars, had given everything to save people who had once been his captors. I swear, Taiwan whispered, still holding Cato's hand. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten. Humans and Nari will stand together against the Vorx. I'll make sure of it. Jia placed her hand on Taiwan's shoulder. He knew you would keep that promise. That's why he saved you. Outside the shuttle viewport, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the small dramas of those who traveled among them. But in that medical bay, a bridge had been built between two species from distant worlds, a bridge of understanding and compassion that would change the course of both their civilizations forever. The human captain cried as he held the alien's hand, and in that moment, the distance between worlds vanished.